Leinster, Northampton, Gloucester, Ulster. Supposed to be talking about Munster and Claremont as well, but my local broadcaster here didn't put it on this morning. They put on the wrong game, being like a replay of some sevens. So I've contacted them and they are going to show Munster Claremont a bit later in the day. So I'll probably take out my kids and watch it this evening. So yeah, as a substitute, I ended up watching Leinster against Northampton. I initially thought I won't watch that because at the RDS, man, it's not going to go well for Northampton, and kind of proved to be the case. It's a pretty comfortable one, and man, Gloucester and Ulster was mental. I watched these games at the same time, and I spent more time on this one, I'll be honest, just because of the way it was so back and forth. Crazy game. But anyway, I'll let you guys know my thoughts on the two games, some stats, and you guys can let me know how you reckon things went. So yeah, Leinster up against Northampton. As I said, I wasn't planning on watching it, but it certainly had its moments. From what I could see of it, it started pretty ominously for Northampton with Murphy going over after about 3 minutes. It seems like Leinster had made some late changes to the squad. I didn't do the preview, but from what the commentators were saying, there were a few guys who kind of had to drop out last minute. Ringrose did well in setting it up, and it's the first time I'd seen Ringrose play in ages since he got injured. So certainly good to see him. Although Ringrose kind of took out O'Brien not long later when they clashed together. But yeah, that's just one of those accidental collisions. I thought, for what I watched of it, large periods early, Leinster were kind of not clinical. I don't know what the conditions were like. Certainly in the second half, it did seem to rain a wee bit. But, yeah, the hands were just not quite there. Looked a little bit disjointed. Looked like a side who'd made some late changes, which was, to be fair. Yeah, a few chances. I think Frawley had to come on for Ringrose at one point, but then he went back off because Ringrose cleared for his HIA. Healy got a try on 16 minutes. Free kick from a scrum, I think it was. They tapped it, and it's like one phase later, Healy was over for a try. Again, 14-0 was looking pretty bloody comfortable, but Northampton, to their credit, like they kept competing. They didn't just roll over. And the stats kind of show that towards the end as well. It was, Dingwall who got the one on 22 minutes from a 5-metre scrum. A great little move. 14 points to 7. And 28 minutes, Ross Byrne kicked the penalty. I heard Harry was supposed to play in this one, but he's one of the late changes, which was unfortunate. So 17-7. Leinster had a messy line out on their own 5-metre line, which meant they had to carry it back over the line. A chance for Northampton, and they took it with open arms, man. That man, Tom James, the scrum half, nice little sniping run from the back of that scrum, made it 17-14. Suddenly it's game on. I couldn't quite believe it, because at 14-0, I was drifting well to this game, thinking, well, this game's over. This game's done. But yeah, 14 points to 17. Josh van der Fleer had a big line break. A huge pass that he put in. Maybe could have kept it a bit simpler. But I think Baird ended up knocking on a little while later. Leinster went like 19 phases. They won a penalty. They went for touch. Ross Byrne had a line break. He went close. Porter went close. Held up. Back for advantage. And eventually, right before halftime, Carney goes over on the left wing. Jamison Gibson Park, who was kind of hot and cold for this one. Like that line-out I talked about, it was messy. I think Jamison Gibson Park got it in his own end goal and just shoveled it to, was it Healy? Who just got buried in Northampton tacklers. Like, yeah, anyway, probably was in a bit of a difficult situation either way. But yeah, Jamison Gibson Park's huge pass out to the left almost gets intercepted, but Northampton can't quite control it. Carney gathers the loose ball and dots over in the corner. Quite a finish to make it 22-14 at halftime. Looking slightly more comfortable. Second half, Jamison Gibson Park kind of gets a little bit of revenge. He has his own little sniping run from the back of a scrum. Scrum's turning. to give him that little bit of extra angle that he needs. And all of a sudden, 29-14. Again, I'm thinking, game over. But not a couple of minutes later, I start watching this game again. I turn back and Ezekwes's over for a try. And it's Gibson Park. I mentioned hot and cold. Gets charged down for a little box kick. Ezekwe regathers it. And they missed the conversion, so it's 29-19. Started raining really heavily from about that point. Leinster kicked the penalty to make it 32-19. I should have mentioned they've already got the bonus point by this point, so nothing really doing. Levy comes on. The TMO checks a clean out on Josh van der Fleer. It did look pretty nasty. I saw him go down, and they seemed to play on for a while before going back to look at it. They only gave a penalty, though, and Leinster kicked one more penalty before full time, so it finishes 35-19. So, like I mentioned, kind of hot and cold. I think Leinster, bonus point win at home. It maybe meets expectations without exceeding them. Jameson Gibson Park had some really good moments and a couple of not so good moments. Good to see some of the squad guys get a run. Definitely a bit of rotation going on, which is one thing that Leinster can do with that depth they've got. So they're sitting pretty, and they dominated. 57% possession, 60% territory, 426 to 313 run meters, 28 defenders beaten to 12. I guess one area that you look at Northampton and go, they continue to fight, was turnovers. One was 7-3 in their favour. They had to make 178 tackles to Leinster's 111. So they were kind of under the pump. But interestingly, turnovers conceded is 16-13. So pretty high, like throughout the course of the game. So it was a bit of a grind at times. But like I said, it did have its moments of magic as well. Especially like Carney's try the hands. Northampton will be disappointed with their line out. It was at 67%. Whereas Leinster was at like 92. Although I think technically that one that the messy one on their own 5-metre line, which ended up being taken back, and then a Northampton scrum, which led to a try, that was still technically a line-out win, so it's not quite reflected in the stats. Penalties conceded 14 by Northampton, 10 by Leinster. Baird gets man of the match. Ringrose ends up with like 16 carries. He was a busy boy. 8 out of 9 tackles. Josh van der Fleer has 14 out of 14 tackles. Alex Moon for Northampton has 18 out of 19. Dingwall finishes with that try and 3 clean breaks, so he was dangerous. But ultimately, Leinster, too good at home for Northampton. To be expected, as I said. So, you guys will have to let me know, you Leinster fans, how you feel about that one. Whether you are like happy with it, just satisfied, dissatisfied. Because like I mentioned, at times they look like they should have been scoring more points, but couldn't quite cross over. But it's hard to complain about a bonus point win. The next one, and this game was crazy. Gloucester against Ulster. Both sides looked to have the other team dead and buried. The top try scorer is penalty tries, of which there are 3. There's like 4 yellow cards. Crazy game. A couple of the refereeing decisions were pretty questionable, but seemed to be consistent at the end. But anyway, Lewis Rees-Zammit looked to get a try early, and he did. He got it on 6 minutes. Good work from Gloucester, really keeping the ball alive. Some offloads, like passes that hit the dirt, were still getting picked up. They checked the grounding and it was okay. 7-0, great conversion. Burns hit back though at his old team on 11 minutes. Huge gap. He didn't need a second invitation, and after about 7 phases, 7 points apiece. McCloskey went about 2 metres out on 14 minutes for Ulster. Burns put a long pass out to the left. They probably should have scored, but Gloucester's defence did really well to hold them out. 22 minutes, Gloucester win a penalty, which they decided to kick, and Ulster's 22, 10 points to 7 back in front. Herring gets a yellow card on 25 minutes. Gloucester Moore gets pulled down. There was kind of a series of penalties for Ulster at that point, against Ulster, and he gets yellow carded. And then a minute later, Gloucester set another one, and the referee gives a penalty try. And I think it's Alan O'Connor gets yellow carded as well for bringing down the maul. and suddenly it's 15-13. The ref at one point says, he's asking the TMO for the number, and he watches it and he's like, nah, I know his face. Don't worry about it. I got it. So, yeah, 15-13. It's 17 points to 7. It's looking pretty troubling for Ulster, but strangely, with 2 men down, they seem to play some of their best rugby. I don't know how it works. They controlled possession for ages with the 2 men down. Gloucester actually conceded a penalty when they finally got some ball, and Cooney didn't take too long. He took the full he took the full quotient of the time to make sure that they weren't giving any free minutes with the 2 men. So yeah, it's 17-10. And then they get another penalty. It's on like 55 meters, and Cooney takes again the whole minute, to be expected. But right as he's about to kick it, the bloody ball falls off the tee, and the ref's just like, your time's up. So they lose the chance to get another 3 points during that double yellow card, but that's the end of the yellow card. So the yellow card period the double yellow card finishes 3-0 to Ulster. The first yellow card kind of finishes 7-3 because they got that penalty try right after the first yellow card. But ultimately, Ulster's got to be pretty bloody happy with the way they managed the double yellow card period. Cooney makes up for it. Not long later, he makes up for that missed penalty. He charges down a Gloucester kick. He kicks it through. He chases it. They win a penalty, but they can't score right before halftime. So it goes in to halftime with that 7-point lead for Gloucester, and it's still looking like anybody's game. It's wet in the second half, really wet. The rain's really coming down. Gloucester started with a big maul 5 meters out. The backs join in, and they go over for the try. It's Atkinson who gets awarded the name on the scoreboard anyway. So suddenly 24 points to 10, and at 24-10, the conversion perfect. It just hits the crossbar and goes over. 24-10, I'm thinking, it's looking probably like Gloucester's day. However, on 54 minutes, they do check before that, Lowry gets his try before that foul play call. Lowry gets his try on 53 minutes. That one, Cooney offloads to Timoney, who passes to Lowry, goes into the space. He's got some real wheels, and he goes over for that try. So at that point, it's... what score? Did I even write it down? 24-17. A couple of minutes later, they check some foul play to see if Gloucester's fullback was taken out, but Stockdale had his back to him, and he kind of jumped over Stockdale. So sensible decision. They didn't really go with anything for that one, I thought, because it would have been a bit harsh if you'd penalised Stockdale for... he was waiting under the ball and he just kind of got jumped over, but even then you're not really supposed to jump over players. So that was what it was. 57 minutes, Ulster camp outside Gloucester's, like 1 metre from their line. Gloucester concede advantage. There's a deliberate knock-on for Lewis Rees-Zammit. It's a scoring chance. Initially, the ref goes to the TMO and says it's definitely a yellow card for the deliberate knock-on, but he doesn't see it as a try-scoring opportunity, so he's not going to give the penalty try. At that point, I'm floored. I'm incredulous. Like, of course, there's the man right there who, if he caught that pass, would have gone right under the sticks unopposed. TMO gently invites him to have another look, and eventually he agrees. So it is a penalty try. Penalty try on 58 minutes. It's 24 points apiece. Lewis Rees-Zammit goes off with the yellow card. They win a penalty. Also don't manage the yellow card that well with the extra man. They get a penalty. This time they get someone to hold the ball on the tee, which was sensible. 27 points to 24. 3 points during the yellow card. Ulster's in front for the first time of the game. And then on 67 minutes, Cooney gets a try after burning down the left wing. Again, the TMO has a check. Stockdale, like right before Cooney ends up getting the ball, jumps up for a high ball. They don't rule it as a knock-on, which if you're a Gloucester fan, you'll be scratching your head how the hell that wasn't a knock-on. But if you're an Ulster fan, you'll say, well, it kind of went straight down. Maybe backwards. I don't know. But it was a fortunate one, you'd have to say, for Ulster. But man, he's got some wheels, that Cooney. So 10 points during the yellow card. It's 34-24. And like I mentioned, I'm looking at Ulster going, now these guys are looking pretty likely. It's not looking like they're going to be able to lose it from here. 71 minutes, like Walker, the reserve, is he the reserve hooker for Gloucester? Like charges into Stockdale's back, knocks himself out almost. That was a random moment of the game. But then 74 minutes, McElroy, who's not long come on for Ulster, he gets yellow carded with Gloucester, hot on attack. Deliberate knock on, penalty try, 74 minutes, which is unfortunate because he would have gone over in the corner if it had been a Gloucester try, but the fact that it's a penalty try means 2 extra points. So suddenly it's 31-34. That's the bonus point try for Gloucester. Gloucester knock it on and attack. Well, I've got the extra man. It looks like that's probably it. It's about to finish with a scrum, at which point Gloucester win a scrum penalty. It gives them a chance. They kick it down the other end. They maul it. Lewis Rezamet goes close. They get advantage. There's another knock on as Lewis Rezamet's trying to force it on the line. So they go back for the advantage. 5 metre line out. It's a maul. More advantage. Eventually, Gloucester get the try. Right at the death through that man Barton. I'm surprised they didn't look at the way he grounded it because it looked like he may have lost control right as he was going over. But the referee was quick to award it. But I guess if you can give Cooney's one, you can give Barton's one. So it kind of evened out over the course of the game. But yeah, 38-34. Heck of a game, man. Heart in your mouth stuff. Possessions 50-50. Territories 48-52. Tackles 137-166 with Gloucester having to make a few more. Run meters 315-342. Ulster edging that one. Clean breaks 4-5. So Ulster having one more pretty even. Defenders beaten 24-12. So Ulster actually had double. But they had more penalties conceded 14-11. Their line out was not slick. 69% to Gloucester's impressive 94. Turnovers 1. Gloucester 5-1. So they were really able to put the Ulster guys under pressure at times at the breakdown. Great to see a small crowd there, like allowed to see a crowd. It was really good to see them involved in the game, and it just adds a bit more to the atmosphere, eh? Like if you want that extra factor to help get you over the line right at the death, having a crowd there is certainly one that's going to do that. Alemano is an impressive player, man. 18 out of 18 tackles. I think he's still pretty new to Gloucester, isn't he? He's good. He played for the Hawaras for a long time. Really good player. David O'Connor for Ulster had 15 out of 16. Cooney had 69 run meters and a clean break. Reece Zammit had 42 run meters and 5 carries. So busy game for both sides. But I'm still trying to get my head around how the competition works this year. But I'm pretty sure Ulster's in pretty hot water now. I don't think that gives them a lot of chance to progress. Whereas Gloucester bounced back from like a record loss to a last minute win at home. So yeah, interesting ones. I believe I've been partially spoiled to the Munster result, but I'll go and watch that in a while. I better take the kids out for a play first because they've been pretty patient while I was watching these games. But anyway, yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the games. I will invite, I don't usually talk about the ref much, but the ref for this one. Anyway, there were some interesting ones. But yeah, good games overall, pretty entertaining. Good fight from Northampton, but couldn't quite stick with Leinster for 80 minutes, which is to be expected. And both of these sides came back from the dead, and Gloucester ended up edging it. So yeah, whoa, almost 20 minutes. I'll call it quits here. You guys take care. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.